Welcome into the Locked On Packers Squad Show. I'm Brandon Sneide. No Jayden Reed means this could be a Matthew Golden opportunity.
With a banged-up offensive line, someone needs to block Myles Garrett.
Yeah, this is Coach Jags, man. Time to be road warriors. Got to win on the road.
Go, Pack, go! It's the Packers Squad. Everything Green Bay Packers every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from Titletown. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the frozen tundra with all the cheeseheads, the Packers Squad Show starts now.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find podcasts. You will certainly find this one, Locked On Packers, the number one Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for the fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. As always, thanks to everyone, whoever makes Locked On Packers part of their first listen each and every day. This episode tonight is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for this week's highlight, moving the game forward. Mazda, move and be moved. Alongside my two guys, Peter Bukowski and Coach Jeff Jagosinski, my name is Brandon Sneide. Guys, lots to get to ahead of Week 3 in the NFL. We'll preview the Browns as the Packers got their first field trip of this season. We'll take a deep dive into our group chat. It's going to be really fun, centered around the uniqueness of this Packers offense and the play calling from head coach Matt LaFleur. And of course, at the end of the show, you got to stay tuned. Our final thoughts and predictions. We're all three of us are 2-0. So you got to stay tuned because we're on a hot streak right now. But let's start with the Packers week 3 opponent, the Cleveland Browns. Peter, 0-2 to begin the season, a 17-16 loss at home to the Bengals, a 41-17 loss to the Ravens on the road. I'm not breaking any news here, guys. Myles Garrett is still a headache for opposing teams, mostly opposing quarterbacks. When you turn on the film, Peter, and you look at this team, the Cleveland Browns, what stands out to you ahead of the week 3 matchup with the Packers?
This defensive front is still really good. Like, the team is not very good. I don't think they're going to win that many games, but this front end and these corners, especially when they're healthy, are really good. I don't think they can score enough points to beat the Packers, but they can if they get a bunch of turnovers. They can if they dominate up front. We've seen the Packers over the first 2 weeks win 2 games convincingly precisely because they won the game in the trenches. No matter how spread out the modern game gets, no matter how pass happy the modern game gets, I know that guys like Coach Jags are still happy because the game is still won in the trenches. You still have to be able to control the line of scrimmage. And with Myles Garrett, with the rookie Mason Taylor, this group, I know they lost, some players over the last couple of years to this defensive front, but they can still get after you, man. And they made life hell for Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Myles Garrett is still a bad dude. He's the only guy in the league, like, on Micah Parsons' level in terms of rushing the passer, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's already got 3.5 sacks. I think he's leading the NFL in sacks right now. And I tell you what, those pass rushers, as you guys, we've seen it with Parsons, they're difference makers. And what they do, they disrupt the game so much, and you have to put so much attention on him. Somebody's going to have to be, and again, we're going to talk about the O-line deal coming up, but where I'd be hanging his hat is right over our right tackle, right? I mean, it depends if it's Belton or not, but that's going to be a challenge for the Packers to see how they're going to take care of that pass rush by him. But he is so disruptive. But here's the thing about what I've saw is they're -4 in turnovers. Yeah. It's like one of the worst in the league. And we talk about turnovers every week. They've got -4 and they've never got one yet. So that's going to be a big part of the game. And I think that defensively, if we can handle him, I think we'll score plenty of points this week.
This is an interesting matchup for me because the Packers, we kind of talked about it, guys. When we first kicked off the Locked On Packers squad show, one of the first things we talked about, both of us, was like, how is this team going to respond? Like, it was a weird training camp. Jordan Love with the thumb. Jayden Reed was out. Dontavian Wicks was out. They didn't have, Micah Parsons was a late addition to this team. But we were like, okay, let's see how they fare in week 1. It's a divisional opponent, a tough one. The Lions have kind of bullied you. And the Packers responded, right? 27-13 win, like completely dominated that game. We're like, okay, let's take a step back. Let's enjoy it. But we didn't have long because they took off against another team on Thursday night and the Washington Commanders, which was another challenge for this team. And now you look at how is this team going to respond not only to having a great start that they're on right now, a 2-0 start, but the first road trip of the season, as well as being heavy favorites right now. Right now, our partners at FanDuel, -7.5 right now for the Green Bay Packers. Coach, when you are a heavily favored team, what's the message? How do you take a team with those odds? And I know you guys may not look at odds in the locker room, but you know you're the better team. You have the better quarterback. You have the better team. You have the better everything outside of Myles Garrett. I guess we could compare that with Micah Parsons. But how do you keep a team laser focused, making their first road trip of the season in the regular season, being heavy favorites?
Well, here's the thing. Like when you go on the road, there can be distractions because you're flying, you're getting to a different hotel, your meeting rooms are in the hotel, the meetings. But I'll tell you one thing that I think that the Packers have an advantage to is like, remember we talked about last week about play to your standard. Yeah. It doesn't matter, guys. Hey, it's gonna be Dallas, it's Detroit, it was the Commanders. It doesn't matter who you play. Our standard is going to be that. And if I'm Coach LaFleur, I'm always going to be bringing that up to my football team. If I'm the coordinator, the standard is on offense. That's how we play. I'm the D coordinator. That's the standard in how we play. And I think especially those guys on defense, have bought into that.
You need your leaders, right? You need your leaders this week. You need Jordan Love. You need Josh Jacobs. You need Xavier McKinney. I loved the comments. Brandon couldn't pull them because they are very much not safe for work.
Yes,
but
Xavier, I know where you're going.
Xavier McKinney's comments about feeling like you haven't won the Super Bowl. Like just because you're 2-0 doesn't mean you won the Super Bowl. And I think this was, frankly, guys, I think this was one of the problems with last year's team. And we've talked about this on my show. We've talked about this on the squad show. I think they thought in more games than not, they could show up and win just because they were more talented than the other team in a lot of cases. And that's just not true. The NFL, all the players, I mean, Mike McCarthy used to say this all the time. You know this, Jags. There's no bad players in the NFL. No. We're talking about the best of the best of the best. It is all on a sliding scale. So every team has the talent to beat any other team in a given week. This is not college football where you're playing our little sisters of perpetual sorrow in week one, getting ready for conference play. That doesn't exist in the NFL. And so you have to have that mentality, which means Jordan Love has to have those offensive guys focused. You need someone like Elton Jenkins in that offensive line room going, guys, if we're not on our stuff, Myles Garrett is going to make us look silly. And that's just the truth. Like you need your leaders this week to make sure it can't just be the coaches. You know, Aaron Rodgers loves to say the best teams he's been around have been player-led teams. You have to have your leaders this week keep everyone together to say, look, we can beat this team by 40 if we want to, but we have to play like that. And that's to Jag's point. That's the standard.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Brandon.
I got a question for you, Coach. And you mentioned it at the beginning of the show, centered around the offensive line. Now, Aaron Banks, according to Aaron Banks, said that he plans to play on Sunday at left guard. I
love that.
My question for you, though,
check
Coach.
The sources on this one.
Yeah,
Brandon?
let me check them real quick. Zach Tom, Coach, you mentioned the right tackle and it kind of being the important part, especially when you're going up against a guy like Myles Garrett. Well, really, I mean, the front, as Peter mentioned, is all good for Cleveland. But when you look at that specific position for our Green Bay Packers, is it better to have Zach Tom, let's say 70%, 60%, not 100%, a gimpy player going up against Myles Garrett? Or is it better to have a guy like Anthony Belton, who the coaches were really high on this week following his performance against the Washington Commanders? Maybe give him some help, a chip or two along the way of keeping Myles Garrett in check. Which way would you lean towards protecting Jordan Love going into week 3?
You know what? I would rather have a healthy Belton than an 80 or 70% Toms. I just would, because there's ways that you can go ahead and negate his pass rush with a tight end chipping, sliding to it, get two guys sliding to that guy, or it could be a running back chipping to help him out. I would rather have a guy that's like 100%. Well, no one's ever 100% after the first game, but I would rather have a guy that's healthy than a guy that's like 70, 80%, because you're going to need that guy down the road too. Remember, guys, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And I'm going to say it until you guys are, well, Jags, you got to stop saying that. But I'm just saying,
we're stacking
it's a marathon.
Successes on the show, Coach. We're just going to continue to stack success on the
okay,
show.
Mike, I got it. All right, I got it. But it is just, and if you can just go back to, and this is going to come down in the next couple of weeks. Remember we talked about the quarters. You got to win the quarter of the season. We're into our third quarter right now of the first quarter of the season. So I tell you, I'm super excited about this opportunity for our guys.
I wonder, Brandon, like if Aaron Banks can go and Jordan Morgan isn't the right tackle, what is Jordan Morgan on this team for? That's what I want to know, because that's why you draft him in the first round, because you think he can step in these moments. He was starting for Banks. He was competing with Sean Ryan week 1. Rasheed Walker played. Zach Tom played. Morgan was rotating at right guard. Then they have all the injuries and he has to play in week 2. And I thought he played pretty well in week 2. If Jordan Morgan is a first round pick, if you think he's a first round talent, they want to play him everywhere, then he's there for moments like this. He's not a rookie. He didn't play tackle last week, but he's someone who has experience, who played tackle 3 years in college and has the pedigree. I would think that would be where they would want to go. Now, I don't have any problem if they say, look, Anthony Melton played well last week. He's earned this opportunity, but I don't know what Jordan Morgan is on the team for if he's not going to be your backup right tackle. I assumed he would be the swing tackle, and I think he would have been last week had Banks been healthy enough to go, but he wasn't. I think we're going to learn a lot about how they view these players. They may think more highly of Belton than we realize if we get to Sunday and it turns out he's going to be the starting right tackle. I've thought all along, and this is me and Jags, I'd love to get your input after we see these guys a little bit more on the field, because I don't expect that you went back and watched Anthony Belton at North Carolina State, though I would welcome it. But I thought Belton could play tackle in the NFL. I thought Morgan was a guard in the NFL. That was just how I felt about it. And then we saw them play in the preseason. We talked about this on our squad show, guys. Like, Morgan played way better at tackle than I thought he was going to. And so if that's the case, isn't this his opportunity then to say, hey, look, I'm a tackle in the NFL? If the Packers think he's a tackle, let him play tackle.
Yeah. Do you think he's better than Bolton?
At tackle, I honestly don't know. I really don't. And that's just because we haven't seen him do it. Anthony Belton has more snaps at tackle in the NFL than Jordan Morgan, even though Jordan Morgan was drafted to play tackle, played guard as a rookie, but they thought, hey, we're going to give him the chance to be a left tackle. And then he's rotating at guard. A lot of stuff does not make sense to me about how they've handled this Jordan Morgan thing. But I 100% defer to the Packers, because for years, like going back to Jags when you were there, this has been an offensive line factory. All they do is draft and develop offensive line better than any other team in the NFL. So I sort of feel like if I'm missing something, the Packers must know something, because I'll just say, look, my bad.
Yeah. Here's the thing, guys. I think a lot of people don't understand, and just being an O-line coach in the NFL, it's like, well, he's a left tackle, but we'll just throw him out to right guard. Guys, a left tackle is not a right guard. It's a different position. And I learned that from Alex Gibbs. He goes, Jags, you really think that like that left tackle goes play the right guard? And I go, we're good. It's going to change the stance. Is he in a right-handed stance, left-handed stance? Is he playing wide rusher? Is he playing a guy right on top of him? It's not like plug and play, guys. It's just not, and I know at some point those guys have to play other positions, but left tackle's way different than playing right guard in the NFL.
Yeah. What did Josh Sitton say? Like, try, if you think it's just an easy enough switch, try wiping your ass with the other hand. And it's like, it's a different experience. Brandon knew exactly what quote I was.
I knew you were going there.
That was Josh Sitton.
He was always good for a quote in the locker room every single week. Here's my thing, Peter. I'm going to put my
go over the beer with. I tell you that.
Oh, I believe it. Oh, yeah. I can believe that.
Just imagine the nights you could have TJ Lang and Josh Sitton together. You go out to a bar in Neenah. How much fun you could have with those guys.
Here's my theory to your questioning, Peter, and your and I think you're right. I think that you have every right to kind of question what the plan is for the Packers. I don't think they're going to pay Rasheed Walker next year. I think your left tackle is Jordan Morgan And I don't think
he's got to play, Brandon. Then he has to play tackle. You can't be a tackle in the NFL without playing tackle.
But he played tackle.
To not give him an opportunity to play tackle and then say you're our starting left tackle. That's ridiculous.
But he did all training camp. Remember, Rashid was out. That was another name that was not really participating in a lot of training camp, including the preseason games, and that was Jordan Morgan. And I could be completely wrong. Like, I could be completely wrong. I know my guy Goody is up there listening at 1265 right now to the squad show. We thank you, Goody. But I think that's going to be the plan. I don't think they're going to pay Rashid. Money's going to get a little tighter. I know the cap grows a little bit, but money's going to get a little tighter to retain some of these guys. And to your point, Peter, I agree with you, because you don't draft Jordan Morgan in round 1, or any player for that matter in round 1, without plans to play them, for the future. I think Morgan is your future at left tackle. I think obviously Aaron Banks got big money. Anthony Belton is going to be, in there, in the conversation. And obviously Zach Tom is somebody the Packers think very highly of. So I think that's the starting left tackle for next year. And to Coach Jags' point, you don't want to move him from the left side to the right side. What if something happens on the right side? Does he lose his confidence on he did play right guard last year as well. So there's that as well. But I do agree, but I do think he's going to be your left tackle starting next year.
I think he's your long-term. I think he's going to play right guard next year. I think Anthony Belton and/or Zach Tom, I think those are going to be your tackles in 2026.
You think Tom will go to the left side?
Maybe. Or I think Anthony Belton is going to play the left tackle. But I think Jordan Morgan is a guard, which is why I think he's going to play right guard when Sean Ryan leaves in free agency at the end of this year. That's where I am on this.
Well, I know. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah. Peter, Brandon, you guys are in the personnel room, and we're talking about the offensive line. Okay. Mm-hmm. And you got their names up there, right? There's the left tackle, left guard, center, whatever. That left tackle, that big circle around him, he's got to be your dog, man. Because where's the pass rusher? It's on the left side. It's always on the back side of the quarterback. Always. So
that's why I think they paid Zach Tom to do that. I think they paid Zach Tom to play left tackle.
Well, and again, left is right. I think Belton's a right.
Same.
I do.
And that would traditional body types. Zach Tom is your left tackle. Anthony Belton is your right tackle.
There is a difference. That makes sense. Yeah, there is a difference. But that left tackle, that guy's getting paid way more money because
all the more reason Zach Tom, I think, is your future left tackle. Anthony Belton is your right. Which, by the way, I was being a little concerned, Trolley, because I kind of think Jordan Morgan is a guard. And if they let Anthony Belton play right tackle, then we'll know that the Packers agree with me. And again, I'm open to being wrong. They draft and develop offensive linemen better than anybody. But I'm just saying, I think that will give us a hint of where they think this team is going. If Anthony Belton starts on Sunday against Myles Garrett, then we will know where this offensive line is headed long term.
So if there was a holster, okay, that he's wearing a holster, Jacobs is going to be in that holster.
Jacobs or Kraft.
That cat right there.
Yeah. Fitzpatrick. Somebody's
chip release all day. 12 personnel.
Let's go. Tight ends too. You're going to see those guys a lot this week.
We'll talk more about the formations coming up, which includes part of the tight ends. We talked a lot about who could potentially be in. One name that we know is not going to be in the lineup, and that is Jayden Reed. How can this offense still be successful without number 11, and who needs to step up for the Packers on offense? You'll get Peter's thoughts, Coach's thoughts, and mine after this. Today's Locked On Packers Squad Show is brought to you by our wonderful partners over at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with this can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your first $5 bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You heard me mention it at the top of the show. The Packers right now minus 7.5 into Cleveland into the Week 3 matchup. Look, betting makes every game even more exciting, whether you're watching your team or you're just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, it's easy, it's the best way to add a little more energy to your Sunday afternoon. So are you ready to play? If so, download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. Once again, that's FanDuel.com. Place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. FanDuel.com. Jaden Reed, broken collarbone, surgery, check. Jaden Reed, Jones fracture, surgery, check. Guys, this Packers offense will be without one of their best weapons, certainly over the last few years, in number 11. Jaden Reed is out. Peter, when you look at this team and you look at the opportunities ahead of certain guys on this roster, what names come to mind when you kind of get excited thinking about, yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that Jayden Reed's out. Yes, it's kind of, he has some time now to get that foot healed, get that collarbone right, hopefully make the team, make it back to the team for a playoff push. But now he's out of the equation. What excites you the most about the potential now that have somebody step up in place of Jayden Reed?
So I'm going to swerve on this because I know where the topic is headed, and I'm going to let Jags cook on this a little bit because the answer is Matthew Golden. But I was excited about Matthew Golden anyway. You watch this team on tape. He's open all the time. Setting that aside for the moment, the Reed injury specifically gets me excited to see what Matt LaFleur is ready to cook up with Savion Williams, because we saw a little bit of this against the Commanders. When was the last time, guys? I'm not sure. Like, I'm 38 years old. I'm not sure I've ever seen the Packers run a wildcat snap. Ever.
That's a good point. That is a good point.
They did it with Savion Williams on Thursday.
It was great too.
And it was so fun.
Good.
And he's electric. And I wouldn't be surprised if they saw that play on the tape at TCU, because he was a wildcat quarterback a ton for that team, because that TCU quarterback was absolute booty cheeks. They just let him go in the gun, and he threw the ball some. It was a little Randall Cobb what they did with him at Kentucky. And so I'm just the scheme touch game, the jet sweep game, have they run a receiver screen this season? I don't know that they have.
Like a jailbreak type deal.
Maybe one to Golden. I feel
maybe one. I don't remember more than one. Certainly.
I don't either. Yeah.
But that was a big part. Those RPO receiver screens were a big part of their offense a couple of years ago. They have all but disappeared. And so I think Matt LaFleur is always like, he made Tyler Ervin a thing in 2020 on one of the best offenses of the decade. I think there's so many fun things he can do. Put those guys in the backfield together, put Josh Jacobs and Savion Williams in the backfield together, especially against a team this week. No one wants to play more man coverage than Jim Schwartz. They play 46% man coverage in Cleveland. No one else in the NFL is over 36%. No one wants to play man coverage like this team. You're gonna see them do some funky stuff to get these guys free, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I tell you want to go ahead and play a lot of man coverage against Green Bay? I would say give me as much man coverage as you can get. The ball is going to get up, because Love will get that ball out. I've seen that. I mean, he can get that out. He's not going to just stare down receivers. Now, here's the thing: you're getting a lot of man coverage. What are you going to be doing? A lot of mesh, a lot of underneath routes, a lot of rub routes, right? We saw that a couple of weeks ago. A touchdown. I don't know, Peter. You have to let me know. He ended up on a wheel route on a touchdown. That type of thing. And we touched on this a little bit about, Golden, taking him out of the backfield and making, if they want to play man, how are they going to say who's got him coming out of the backfield, a linebacker, or are they going to bring a safety or a corner into the box? That ain't happening. So I think that you can get some great matchups with formations and motioning Golden out of the backfield. Put that guy in space. That's where he's going to be the best.
Coach, how difficult is it? Maybe it's not difficult. I guess I should also ask that part, for a rookie receiver to come into the NFL and immediately make an impact. Now, we've seen it happen, right? Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, those are the quick ones at the top of the brain that, immediately, like a snap of a finger.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, we have, unfortunately, have been so impactful. But I think people kind of, have them, the Madden, the video game, are like, oh, just put Matthew Golden out there, just let him run. He's going to get open. But it's more to that, right? Like, there's more to that, especially with a rookie receiver. Now, he did play at a big school in Texas, but coming from that and learning
just for 1 year, too. Remember, he was at Houston.
Was only there for 1 year.
So it's not like he was 3 years at LSU or something like this. So it's not that. I'm
just curious, Coach, and I truly am curious on how it is to take a rookie and put them in and help them be successful right away, or as soon as possible, I should say.
Yeah, that's perfect, because I tell you, you guys have seen the play sheets, right? They're just
the Denny's menu. You mean?
It can be. It can be Waffle House. It can be Denny's. It could be Perkins, but whatever one you want to use. But
are they even still open anymore? I don't know.
I think there is up here at La Crosse. Okay. But anyways, here's the thing. What they will do is in a game plan meeting. Sorry, how can we get Golden the ball? How can we get Savion the ball? Right? And they'll have plays. It'll say Golden. Here's your 3 plays that we're giving you this week. And that's what they practice.
Yeah.
Say, I mean, here's how we're going to use you. And it's just like, I usually always say, it's like, get Golden the ball. And here are the 3-4 plays I'm going to run. And when you see him calling off a sheet, that's exactly what he's doing. He's not making that stuff up, right? All that stuff has been calculated out throughout the week in game plan meetings and then practice.
When you talk about, I mean, you mentioned you want to see teams attack with man coverage. Like this team spent all offseason trying to find ways. This team was not very good against man coverage. When teams did it last year, they did not have good answers. I think not having Christian Watson was a big part of that. By the way, guys, I don't know if we're going to have a chance to cover it in a different capacity, but like, it sounds like he's going to be back sooner than later in all of this. Like probably out of the bye, we're going to see Christian Watson, which is pretty wild.
Absolutely. Cutting, running, 100%. Yep.
And so the amount of speed that you can bring to bear on the field with all of those guys is real. And I think it benefits them that they came in the offseason and had to spend all this time. We need to have answers for man beaters, or we need to have answers for man coverage. And then they play 2 man coverage teams right out the gate. And now the team that plays the most man coverage in the NFL. It's like, okay, you think you got man coverage beaters? All right, here's the 3 most man heavy teams in the league or pert near. And then, Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome, like they've got real guys out there who can cover. And so you're going to be tested. But then it's just up to Matt LaFleur to find ways to get these guys going. I thought it was so telling, Coach, that last week you saw him go after Marshawn Lattimore, who's a good corner. But they were not afraid of him, but they knew we can motion you this way. We know you're going to bump this way. And then once we've got the leverage on you, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how good you are. You're just SOL. I think that relays to us a confidence right now that Matt LaFleur has in what's on his sheet, that he feels like he knows how to beat anything that someone has to throw at him.
Yeah. But just a couple thoughts on that. One is like, you can't press a guy in motion.
Yeah.
You can't do it. And they did a great job. Well, you're talking about Lattimore. They did that last week against them. Because what are you going to get with motion? You're going to get separation, right? The other thing you said is you're going to play a lot of man coverage. Well, if they're playing a lot of man coverage, that's a single high safety. That's called cover 1, right? Yeah. Cover 1. And they're going to play a single high safety. And then where they're going to be susceptible is in the seams. It's just like, and if you're watching the film of last week with Kraft and the seams, and shoot, when we went to 13, like everybody's up in the seam. And I think that's where I think we'll be able to exploit those guys a little bit in man coverage.
I think we all agree that it's Golden's opportunity, right? And that's the theme of the show, a golden opportunity. And I think he's going to rise to that occasion. My thing, though, and kind of going off of Peter, going away from Golden, I think, who needs to step up, if you want to ask the proverbial question for me, for you guys, is I wouldn't want to call him out because I know he's already been fantastic this year. Tucker Kraft is part of it. I want to see more of Luke Musgrave. I want to see more of Luke Musgrave in the vertical passing game. When Green Bay brought him on, Peter, you mentioned it after the Saints game, or excuse me, the Commanders game, where Musgrave had a couple of catches, and we were like, "Hey, like that would be cool if you get him going in space." And we talked about how excited Matt LaFleur was after the Packers drafted him, after the mini camps, after the OTAs, and glowingly spoke about him. We know Tucker Kraft's an animal, but if you can add in a Luke Musgrave, you guys, with Tucker Kraft, with Matthew Golden, with Romeo Doubs, with Savion Williams, that opens up to me, and again, the least ball knower of the show on the panel right now. I don't know how you defend him. I don't know where you start if you have 2 tight ends that can vertically stretch the field. Coach, as you mentioned, the way they were able to do it against the Commanders, and we'll talk about that later on in the show. But for me, it's Luke Musgrave. You're a high draft pick, a lot of expectations. It's had a lot of weird injuries, right? The spleen and had some unfortunate luck when it comes to injuries. But for me, it's Luke Musgrave, man. I want to see him get going, certainly in the passing game.
Well, and you've got Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is on IR, not going to play.
Correct.
You've got Carson Schlesinger, who I think has been good as a rookie, but is a rookie. And then Devin Bush is the other linebacker. Now, he's been much better this year against the run, but he's still someone as athletic as he is. He just doesn't always seem to know where to go. And his instincts, are not always the best. And so we saw Bobby Wagner, and we were joking about it on the squad show, guys. Like Bobby Wagner on that was, I think, coach's corner for after the Commanders game, right? Get in 13 personnel and make Bobby Wagner cover Tucker Kraft in space. You watch that back, and he's looking around, going, "Are we sure I got this guy? What's going on?" Like that against a rookie and a guy that it doesn't always know where to be. I'm attacking the middle of this field, especially to Jags' point. Single high safety. I'm making these guys cover the seams all day long.
So I'll tell you, here's another thing where you can screw guys' cleats right into the ground is if they're a big man team, you get into bunch personnel or bunch formations, or you motion the bunch. And now if they've got man coverage, they have to go ahead and relate to that bunch, whether it's getting motion to from the outside in, from the inside out. That is, guys, difficult to do. And if we saw a bunch of that, that wouldn't surprise me. And you can do that in the run game too.
They like to get into bunch too in 12 and even 11 with the tight end and just make it muddy for linebackers and safeties. And all of a sudden, like they don't know who's who in the zoo, and you got some guy running wide open.
Right. And here's the deal: if they're playing 12 guys, they're not playing cover 2. They're just not. I mean, they're going to have an extra guy down in the box, which you'll get cover 1, right? Or cover 3, cover 1, some middle field safety deal. But if you got 12 personnel in the game, that's what you had last week. They were in 13. They're playing single high. That's not a passing situation with 13, right? It's a run. So I don't know. I think the Packers, they've got some really good weapons and some things to use against these guys.
Brandon, I know we got to get to break here, but Jags, any concern from you that the running game has not really gotten on track here the way that we thought it could this year? I mean, I know teams are loading up to stop the run. We're seeing a lot of single high safety teams saying, we think we can take, Josh Jacobs out of the game and you can't beat us.
Yeah. The thing is, he wore him down though. Right. I mean, they started getting the ball and they started doing it. The Packers run game is they're a zone team. Okay. And they run a little bit of gap scheme, and they did that. And Jacobs is really good getting downhill. So when you're running like gap schemes, that means like you're pulling somebody from the backside, whether it's the guard, it could be the tight end, and everybody's blocking back. And that ball's going to hit right in the A gap. And Jacobs is really good at that. When he gets his shoulders square to the line of scrimmage, he's really, really physical. I really like the way he runs.
If the Packers can get him going, that just opens up even more potential. And we'll discuss what this offense can do. And speaking of this offense, we're going to dive into the group chat coming up after this break. The unique play calling from head coach Matt LaFleur. You heard Coach Jags and Peter talk about 13 personnel, 12 personnel in the group chat. I think 01 personnel was mentioned. No idea what it is. You and I are about to find out, and why this is so unique to this Packers offense after this. Today's Locked On Packers Squad Show is brought to you by Mazda, moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. These are the moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, they move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is none other than the guy we just talked about and who we're going to talk about coming up, and that is Tucker Kraft. 6 receptions, 124 yards, 1 touchdown. Absolutely domination from number 85 in Green Bay. We'll talk about that coming up. This week's moment that moved the game forward again, Tucker Kraft dominating the Washington Commanders for 6 catches, 124 yards, including a touchdown. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Into the group chat. Our midweek show here on the Locked On Packers Squad Show is all about bringing you guys closer to Peter, to Coach Jags, and myself, and the things that we like to talk about during the course of the week when the Packers are not playing, or maybe after the game, or maybe when we're watching the Chicago Bears get embarrassed on national TV. And one of the things that was discussed in the group chat was the unique play calling and formations from head coach Matt LaFleur and what he's been able to do with this offense in the first 2 weeks of the season. 2-0, 27 points seems to be the go-to for the Packers. 27 points in week 1 and week 2 en route to wins. Coach Jags, you mentioned a couple times in the group chat, and Peter, you did as well. Coach, what are you seeing from head coach Matt LaFleur? And for those at home, myself included, 13 personnel, 12 personnel, and I think you mentioned 01 personnel, if that's correct. Walk me through what you're seeing from head coach Matt LaFleur and how he's utilizing the weapons he has on this roster.
I tell you one thing I think he does a great job of is using his personnel in different ways. I mean, he does a great job on getting different guys onto the field. Now, guys, listen, here's the thing. We talked about the offensive play caller, right, with his call sheet. So here's a defensive play caller has a call sheet as well, but he has to do it all off of personnel, all of it. So he goes, hey, 12 personnel's in the game. And do you guys ever see, like, on the sideline, they got like placards, 10, 11, 12? That's what they're identifying. So the whole defense knows who's in the game, right? So, but I think LaFleur does a great job.
That's what they're doing with it. Okay. I'm actually just learning that. Okay.
Yeah. So my brother's a Big Ten official, and a lot of the officials, they didn't know what the hell that was. So honestly, I mean, who knows that stuff, right? But that's what it is. But
that's why you got to listen to the Locked On Packers Squad Show.
Exactly,
you
right?
are learning things that you have not known, and I raised my hand. I didn't know that.
We're pulling back the curtain, Brandon.
That's absolutely right.
So, anyways, he uses different personnel a lot, and he shuffles those guys in and out. But what does that do for the defense? They got to substitute also, right? And I think, like, formationally, he gets matchups with the personnel that he's got in the game that really puts guys in a bind. And I've seen him, call plays here for the last couple of years or so. I think he's very, very good. He's very good. He's got a great feel. And the thing is, like, when you're a play caller, it's all about feel, right? And I know they got analytics. It's like, well, we're going to do this and whatever, right? But as the good play callers, the good play callers have a great feel for the game and timing and what to call next.
I think this is such a great shoulder programming for what we saw week one, right? Like, Ben Johnson, he was the architect of that offense. And we talked about this leading up to the show. You can't just go out there and say, we've got the play sheet, so we can do it. Like, there is more art than science to calling the plays. You mentioned it, Jack. You have to have the feel. You have to understand the flow. You have to be able to stack play calls. Like George Kittle, I remember this comment blew up, and I was like, it seems so intuitive. He said Kyle Shanahan sometimes will burn plays. He will call a play specifically knowing, I don't care if this works now, because in the fourth quarter, I'm going play action off of this play, or I'm running the play off the play, but we got to put this one on tape so they know, okay, we're going to come out here and run this from this. And that's the thing that I think Matt LaFleur is just uniquely, good at. And like, there was conversations on I forget the show that I was listening to earlier in the preseason, and they had looked at different trends, and they had talked to all these coaches around the NFL, and like, to a man, everyone was watching the Packers offense because of the way that they use condensed formations and the way that they use, and not just bunch, but just like, okay, we're going to be 2x2 condensed in, because if you're going to catch certain coverages, you want to be able to widen and then come back in, right? So there's a lot of different ways that you can deploy these things. And so, Matt LaFleur has been at the forefront of a lot of these things. And I think finally he has a defensive coordinator
for now,
who is now finally.
Oh, there you go, Brandon.
He has a defensive coordinator
He's a head coach
who does the same thing, guys. Like,
Jeff
Hafley is the defensive version of Matt LaFleur, where he's going to show you the simulated pressures. He's going to show something to you, and then it's going to be something else, or he's going to show you something totally different, and then it's going to be the thing he showed you before, but it didn't look like that before. And so he sort of found his perfect match. I'm afraid we are getting closer every week, Brandon, to your prediction coming through that this is Jeff Hafley's final season in Green Bay, because he's going to be, the head coach of the New York Giants somewhere. That is already something that I hear Giants fans. I'm out here in New York. Like, I'm already hearing Giants fans going, who'd be great? I would love Jeff Hafley. And so look, I'm saying, no, come on. You're a Boston guy. You don't want a Boston College guy. Come on. You don't want to deal with that in New York, right, Jags? So it is the fact that now I think the Packers have that on both sides, Brandon, that you are able to put these two things together, and that makes them so difficult week in and week out to prepare for.
Peter, so you wrote. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Peter, you wrote in the Leap today, a newsletter I know everybody should subscribe to.
Correct.
You wrote that the Packers defense is dominating, which they are by future head coach Jeff Hafley. Yeah. But you said the Green Bay Packers offense is ready to explode. Why? What gives you the confidence that that's actually able to happen? And again, for those that are tuning in, you can read all of this at the Leap, a free newsletter. Explain to me why you have confidence in that statement that you made there on the Leap.
Brandon, do you remember how many points the Packers scored on Thursday?
27.
Okay. How many touchdowns did Jordan Love miss? Probably
should have scored closer to 45. So, okay. Yes.
So this is what I'm saying. Like Matthew Golden, wide ass open on fourth down. He has to go he's looking at the front side of the play, which is his left. He comes back to Matthew Golden. He said, we just heard from him that he did not know where the safety was, which is why he was a little hesitant to really airmail that one out there. But he, in retrospect, thought he should have put that one out there. And then Matthew Golden has a walk-in 92-yard touchdown if he can put it on him. And that's just two plays that if you hit, it's 41 points. Those are walk-in touchdowns. So that's the difference. And I think that they are so close to those, and they're going to continue to do it. Guys, this is crazy. By average depth of target, Jordan Love is averaging 3 more yards downfield than the next closest quarterback through 2 weeks. 3 more. It's like he's throwing the ball 25 to 30% further downfield than even the other quarterbacks throwing the furthest down the field. That's how much this team is chasing big plays. And yet they're wildly efficient. They're good on third down. They're doing everything they need to do, but they are pushing the ball down the field. Those things can be variance. That's variance there. So you hit one more of those, all of a sudden it's an extra touchdown. And now you're scoring 34 points and your defense is giving up 10 or 14. I mean, this offense is going to explode because they're so well balanced. They're so talented and they hunt the explosive plays.
You mentioned Jordan Love right there, Peter. We're going to dive into Jordan Love. Coach, I want you to listen to the quarterback speaking at his locker today about guys that need to step up, how he can be better on offense. This kind of ties into Peter's point. And then I want you to react to QB1 after we hear from him.
Yeah, we're close on a couple. We had it was the same route that Wicks, the earlier deep ball we had that we missed, and then the one that MG ran later. But we were right there. Just missed a little bit too much out there, and probably just put a little more air on those balls and let them get a chance to gauge it. But I'm always trying to put it out there for them, let them go get it. But it's a game of inches. We're right there. The other one I had to MG, that fourth down. That was one that I kind of got back to him late. We thought there was 12 on the field, so it's kind of free play mindset. And I couldn't even tell where the post safety was at that time when I got back to him. So, I wish I would have put that one out there a little bit more. But definitely that was a super underthrown, so tough play right there. But yeah, it's a game of inches, and I just got to hit those.
MG, he's referring to as Matthew Golden. Coach, when you hear QB1 talk about game of inches, just a few, seconds, a few inches away from making those big plays, does that give you confidence going in that this is something that this team can fix going forward and really start putting up points on opposing defenses?
Oh, they'll fix it. They'll fix it. I'll tell you one thing the quarterback a lot of times has to do is put a little bit more height on the ball so that the receiver, especially when you have a guy like Golden, to go ahead and run underneath it. He was just short. It was Peter. It was like super close, right? It wasn't like it was overthrown by 10 yards, right? And I think just the timing and the more these guys get a chance to practice together, like long balls in practice are different than long balls in the game, right? Because you got all the pressure coming on you and you got to move around and all that. But I think the more time that these guys get together, they'll start hitting those. And I tell you what, sometimes, like again, even on your game plan, it goes, I want 4 long balls, 1 a quarter. Make sure we throw them up there. That's how you get your home runs. That's how you get your explosive plays.
Peter, is this I don't want to say the result, but does it have to do, you think, with training camp not really being there a ton for Jordan and Matthew to kind of get on the same target? We haven't seen, Dontavian Wicks has looked fantastic. I don't think he has a drop yet this season. That was his issue last year. Romeo Doubs has been
Love's Wicks too, though. Remember first drive?
He did.
He had Wicks as well. And I think You're right. I do think it is reps to some degree because we've seen like he seems to have a better deep ball chemistry with Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. And that makes sense, right? Those guys have been with Jordan Love longer. They've been in the NFL longer. And certainly in the case of Dontavian Wicks, Doubs and Watson are more used to that role. They have traditionally been your field stretchers. Wicks is just not used to tracking the ball from Jordan the same sort of way. And so, not having Jordan Love gets hurt, and you don't have those reps with Matthew Golden. They don't have the preseason. They just don't have that many live reps together. I mean, it's really the first two live game balls where the Packers are throwing deep to Matthew Golden in life, right? So it's going to take a little bit of time. Don't you remember early on with Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Rodgers? Like Rodgers, for my money, is the best thrower of the ball ever. Mm-hmm. And they couldn't quite find the chemistry for a couple of years. And then, Marquez Valdez-Scantling dropped the ball too many times, and that was part of the issue too. But it took a little time with Christian Watson too. And then once those guys clicked, it was fireworks in 2022. I think we're going to see the same thing with Matthew Golden. This is all feeling, in fact, very Christian Watson-y to me. Remember, early in that rookie season for Christian, it's jet sweeps, it's gadget stuff, it's clear outs. But you watch the tape and you go, open, always open. And as coaches, right, Jags, like even if the play is not called for the guy, you're pointing out in film sessions, hey, look at this guy's running this route to win, and he's winning. The quarterback is seeing that. The coaches are seeing that. It is only going to be a matter of time before they start lengthening that section on the play sheet that says 0 at the top, Matthew Golden. Like these are the plays we're calling for Golden.
Guys, 100%. And the thing is, you want explosive plays, you got to throw it down the field. Then we talked about turnovers and explosive plays, how you win ball games in this league. And they're not far off. They're not far off. And a game rep is different than a practice rep. It just is. This is speed, the simulation of the defense, on the back end and the secondary for the receiver. It's just a little bit different. But guys, I think they're really close.
What are those conversations like? And Brandon, I know we got to go to break.
No, keep going.
What are those conversations like when you're in the coach's room, not the players, but the coach's room, and you're watching the tape, and you're like, God, dog, like this guy, I know we haven't thrown him the ball a bunch, but he's open all the time, and we're so close. Like, how do you manage the excitement for getting the guy the ball more, while also going like we are this close to really busting this thing open?
Keep throwing it. It's the only way you're going to get better. We just talked about Belton. How are we going to get him better? It's reps. You got to have rep after rep after rep. And the thing is, we talked about how young this football team is. They're going to keep getting better with every game situation, with every practice rep, with every game rep. And they're going to get better. And the chemistry, it'll come together. I'm super excited about this team.
Well, and then to add to your excitement, Coach, because I'm right there with you. Christian Watson in a couple of weeks, and it's just going to be a completely different
speed that they can put on the field with these guys. I mean, think about it. Romeo Doubs was a low 4.4s.
Yep.
Yeah, mid 4.4s guy. I was told 4.47 at his pro day. Matthew Golden 4.28. Christian Watson low 4.3s. Savion Williams, he ran in the 4.4s at 225. Like you're talking about weight adjusted speed scores. This is a weight-adjusted speed score freak show on this team. They can really move. Luke Musgrave, he's running 20-plus miles an hour at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
And these guys can absolutely mow. Now, Tucker Kraft, we don't have to talk about, did you think he was running full speed in that one play up the seam? He didn't look like it. Like we saw him at full gait against the Rams.
Well, he was a little banged up.
He just didn't look full gait to me.
It looked like he got a hip or a knee injury that kind of shook him up. Remember, he got up slow earlier in that game, and he's not the kind of guy to go out. But to add to your point too, Peter, like nobody can cover Dontavian Wicks. Like I know he's not the fastest guy on the team, but has the best separation.
He's the slowest guy on the team, a receiver anyway.
Right. Real quick before we move on to our final thoughts and our score predictions, for me in my notes, did we clarify what 0-1 personnel was? Because I don't know if I've ever seen 0-1 personnel.
Go ahead, Peter. You know it.
Well,
it's different.
You're not going to run it very often. I don't know that I've ever seen the Packers run it.
No. So here's what it is, right? It's one tight end, no back, right? So you got all the other guys are receivers.
So you're empty 4 receiver set with a tight end out there,
right? And then here's the deal. Go ahead and put your tight end back there at 260, right? Put him in the backfield, right? And go ahead and take one of your receivers, let's say Savion, and run an ISO with 0-1 personnel. You talk about guys just throwing up their papers, going like, how the hell are we going to defend that? It's hard.
Don't you remember too? 2007. I mean, that was 2007. That was empty 4 and 5 receiver sets. That was that last great Favre year. They were in empty in 4 or 5 receiver sets that whole season.
Yeah. It was good. But I'm telling you, I think LaFleur does a great job. And it's all about personnel. How can we get our better guy on a lesser guy? And he does a good job. One last thing about, like the long ball. Let's just start saying that they start hitting these long balls. And the thing about the back end on defense, it's you're deep as the deepest, wide as the widest for the secondary. If you have a guy like Golden or whoever is, if you got a 4-3, whatever, and he's clearing it out, now you got those deep dig routes coming in. There's nobody left, right? Especially if you do it with play action, because now the linebackers are going to step up. You're going to take the top off the coverage with an inside route, and the outside guy, whoever it is, it doesn't even matter. He's running an 18-yard dig route. It's hard to stop.
And Love is going to rip those suckers. I mean, he loves to do that. We did see Brandon too. In 2021, there was a stretch of time before Randall Cobb got hurt that the Packers were running a bunch of 10 personnel. So it was Aaron Jones and 4 receivers out there. And that was actually a really fun personnel grouping. They had some injuries. I think this team could run that if they felt like they could protect 5-man protection against most teams. I think you might see them do that.
And they might do that more too, to your point, when you're not playing Myles Garrett and when you get Marshawn Lloyd back into the mix of things. That's another name that we keep forgetting about. I'm guilty of it as well. It's like Christian Watson. Yeah, you lose Jayden Reed, but holy cow, man, this team is just loaded at the skill position. So we'll dive into our final thoughts coming up with the Packers heading into Cleveland for their first road trip of the year, and our final score predictions coming up right after this. Today's Locked On Packers Squad Show is brought to you by Game Time. The NFL season officially back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your favorite team. Hopefully it's the Packers at Lambeau Field, but let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between the queues, the login screens, and the prices jumping at checkout, it's just simply frustrating. That's why I use Game Time. It's the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's fast, it's easy, and it's backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all the fees are included. There's no tricking in this one. The price you see is what you actually will pay. The thing I love about Game Time is you can actually see. You log into there, get the app. It's super easy. Download it. You can see where the actual seat is. It gives you a 3D view of the actual seat. It's absolutely fantastic. It's faster. It's cheaper. It's less stressful than any other way that I've simply bought tickets. I choose to use Game Time. You should too. Download the app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go right now. Download the Game Time app today. The Packers heading to the Dog Pound in Cleveland to take on the 0-2 Browns. Peter, this is a tricky feeling for me on this game, and I don't know why, but as the week has slowly progressed,
oh no,
you get just let me slow down. You get some good news, right? Aaron Banks says Aaron Banks is playing on Sunday. I'm not picking the Packers to lose, so let's relax. We're going to the Dog Pound. You never know what to expect. But does this feel like a trap game for the Packers ahead of the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday night?
No.
Okay, I have to ask the tough questions on the show, like what 0-1 personnel is, what 13 personnel is, what's a bunch route or a dick. I got to ask the tough questions.
Okay, I understand this. And especially for Packer fans who have had their hearts ripped out so many times when they thought, hey, this is the team. This is the team that's ready to do it. And then they have these moments. And by the way, it's hard to win in the NFL. The Baltimore Ravens might have been the best team last year. I know they lost in the playoffs, but they might have been the best team. They lost to the Raiders and the Browns last year. Sometimes you do just have these games. But I think it's important to set expectations the right way. And This is like, we're going to hold the Packers to their standard. If they're going to do it, we're going to do it too, because they should win this game, and they should win this game handily. That needs to be the expectation going in, but you still have to play your best. You still have to play to your standard in a game like this. And I think in some ways we will learn more about this team from a game like this than a game like last week. Short week, adrenaline, Micah Parsons, like just, prime time. You can get up for those games. I want to find out about the championship pedigree this week, because champions go out and kick the ever-living crap out of the Browns because you can. That's it. For no other reason than because you can. The Lions love to run it up on these dog teams. I want to see the Packers do the same, because we know the Packers are willing to do it, like, let's say, in the playoffs in Dallas. We know Matt LaFleur will call, Leak up 30 in the fourth quarter just because he can, and throw a touchdown to Luke Musgrave. Those are the things. I want to see this team have that sort of instinct, that sort of mentality, that every single week we are out to break your spirit. That's what I want to see.
Good teams don't play down to their competition.
Exactly.
They don't. I'm going to tell you this too, and I'm getting fired up about that, Brandon. Just look at the last 2 weeks. Oh, Detroit, they got. You saw what they did against Chicago. And like those guys are a bad football team. They made Chicago quit, right?
Yeah.
And then we had one of the most athletic quarterbacks last week, and they shut them down. They're gonna guys. It's a 7.5 point deal. I'm not even close. I'm gonna give my score at the end, but it's not even. I don't think it's even gonna be close, guys. And the thing is, too, when you play a team that's not very good, right, and that's been turning the ball over, and all of a sudden you got this defense suffocating your offense. What happens when they do get a turnover and they're going like, oh hell, here we go again? Mm-hmm. I'm just telling you, that's how teams are. Right? Because I'm sure everybody talks about like turnovers and not giving up turnovers. They are, and they ain't getting any, nothing. So I tell you what, if Packers just play a solid game, which they will, and it's fun playing on the road, guys, because it's always like us against everybody else, right? And I'm sure the Packers will carry a bunch of fans to Cleveland. Oh, yeah. I'm sure they will, right? I mean, it's just the way it is every week. But I'm really looking forward, but I don't think it's 7.5, and that's not even gonna be close.
It was 9.5. I don't know why it's coming back toward the Packers. Maybe it's this offensive line question, but I do think that's interesting. Here's the thing, and I feel bad because I feel like I'm stealing Jags' bit here, but
no.
Every week I have come on here and I've said turnovers will decide the game. If the Packers do not turn the ball over, or they win the turnover battle, they will win by 2 touchdowns. That is what we're looking at here. That is the disparity between these two teams. I think this is like a 24-10 kind of game. I don't think it's going to be high scoring. I don't think the Packers offense is going to light it up, because I do have a lot of respect for the players on this defense. I do not know how this offense is going to move the ball. They lead the league in pass attempts, and the 2 tackles are among the league leaders in pressures allowed. They are going to get, like, we are going to see Dylan Gabriel in this game, whether the Browns like it or not, I think. Because it's just going to be that kind of game.
Good prediction.
Like Devontae Wyatt leads the league in among interior defenders in pressures. Micah Parsons is top 10 and only plays 55% of snaps. Like, it's crazy what the Packers have been able to do. I think the defense is going to once again dominate. And so long as, the guys hold on to the ball, by the way, this Browns special team's also a disaster. Like, as long as you hold on to the ball, Cleveland cannot score enough points to beat this Packers team.
If I had, and this is no disrespect to Joe Flacco, but if I had to draw up a quarterback, you guys, that I would love for Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary and Devontae Wyatt to go up against, Joe Flacco is going to be the character that I draw up. A guy that's not going to move out of the pocket, that the Packers are going to be able to keep in there. And Keyshawn Nixon coming off of his best game, his career best game, 5 PBUs on last Thursday. So this team is
highest graded corner in the NFL at volume by Pro Football Focus, by the way.
And they're absolutely firing on all cylinders from a defensive standpoint. To me, the X factor is going to be the offensive line for the Green Bay Packers, and obviously Myles Garrett. And I think this is a game where, Coach, you kind of talked about it. We'll get into the final scores here shortly. You kind of talked about, getting putting up some points. This to me is a game when you're going up, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, a game where you have to establish the run early. If you want to slow down Malik Williams for the Cleveland Browns, if you want to slow down Myles Garrett, like running the ball with Josh Jacobs, who also was limited in practice. Let's add that in real quickly with an ankle injury, was limited. I don't think you're going to have any fear of Josh Jacobs missing the game on Sunday. But if I'm head coach Matt LaFleur and I'm looking on the other side, the only way that this Browns team can beat this Packers team is if they disrupt the passing game and throw Jordan Love and force some turnovers early. You got to start with Josh Jacobs in this one.
Yeah, I think he's, we've been a little bit slow. We talked about this, a little bit slow on the running game, but correct me guys if I'm wrong, but is it the Packers and the Browns are the only teams that haven't given up a 100-yard rusher?
The Packers certainly haven't. I don't know about.
No, I don't think the Browns have either. So, but guys, I'm just telling you, you can take care of one guy. And I know Myles Garrett's a great player, Pro Bowler, and the whole thing, but you can handle one guy. But where's he going to line up? That's the thing. You always think they put the back over on Belton's side, or a tight end on Belton's side, and you have to go ahead and have your protections that way. They'll move him around. Like Parsons moves around. He's not always in the same spot, so you have to find him and then take your protection and check it to him. So, but
Peter, your final score prediction, week 3, Packers at the Browns.
So I said 24-10. I think that's a good place. I would not be surprised if it was 24-3 or 24-6. I just don't know how Cleveland's going to move the ball in this game. I mean, they get Quinshon Judkins back, but I don't see any evidence that they can open up lanes for these backs. They played the Ravens tough last week, right? But the Ravens are a divisional opponent. It's just a little bit different. And when it's a divisional opponent and the familiarity with you have, I also think Matt LaFleur is just a better offensive coach than Todd Monken. I think the Packers have better skill talent, frankly, at least pass catcher wise, depth wise, than the Ravens do. So, I mean, I think the Packers, the Ravens got to 40 on Cleveland. I don't see why the Packers couldn't too. It's not. I've been pretty close for 2 weeks, guys, on these score predictions for the Packers number. I was just off. I think I had 31-17 last week, 27-18. Like I'll take. Yeah, 24-10 is where I have this right now, I think. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is 34-10 or something like that.
Coach, score prediction.
31-7. 31-7. Guys, I'm just telling. I do not think this thing's going to be close. And I may be. No, I'm not wrong. It's 31-7 is my prediction. And they're going to turn over the ball twice. Cleveland will.
Interesting. Hopefully, Xavier McKinney's on one of those because I feel like a big X game is on the horizon for the Packers. He's definitely due. I got it. I'm going to stick with 27. It's probably not going to happen, but the first 2 weeks the Packers have scored 27 points, so I'm going to go with 27-13. I think there's going to be some, maybe a touchdown late in this game where the Packers kind of are in control, but I do think they hold on. I think Matthew Golden, also I'm going to go on a limb here. I think he's going to have 5 catches, 78 yards, and a touchdown. I think they're going to get him involved early and often in this one. And I think the Packers roll for their 3rd straight win to begin the 2025 season. Friendly reminder, the Locked On Packers squad show and daily show with Peter Bukowski, free and available wherever you guys get audio podcasts, as well as over on YouTube. For Peter Bukowski, for Coach Jags, and for myself, we will sign off for now. We'll be back with you live on Sunday. Keep in mind, Peter will go live immediately after the Packers win. After Peter is done, you get us for 60 more minutes breaking down the Packers and Browns in week 3. Thanks to each and every one of you for tuning in. Thank you for making Locked On Packers part of your day each and every day. And as always, stay Locked On Packers.